What's up, guys? So, another request here to talk about producers and consumers and how that fits in the whole supply and demand microeconomic scheme. No problem, let's do that. Again, producers are who? They're the people that sell things, they're the suppliers, they produce the things that we buy, right? So they're very different from us, the consumers. So we have to figure out, how do companies figure out what to make and how do they figure out what to charge, right? Do they just aimlessly come up with these things, or what's the rationale behind it? The real question I asked, and I kind of had you think about, is should you charge $15 or $30 for the product? If the customer would buy the product at $30, are you wrong to only charge $15? So what do, right? Do you charge more and make the profit because the universal law of supply says that if price goes up, quantity goes up, therefore I make more money as a producer? Or do I lower the price, maybe take less profit, and get more customers over the long run? If I knew the answer to that one, I'd be a billionaire by now. But I don't, and everyone is different, but it's something for us to think about going forward here. So we know it's just a relationship, blah, blah, but we know input is what goes in, output is what goes out. So that's our main thing to know in that one. You have to know the inputs. One is fixed, one is variable, so they have different types of things that come in. Fixed is always constant. Variable goes up and down, so think like a roller coaster in that sense in that one. Don't worry about the long runs, don't worry about that. But you do need to know that when it comes time for producers to figure out what to charge, they have to know what their costs are, right? And the easiest equation for that is total cost equals your fixed cost plus your variable cost. So for example, like I said, my family, the Vincent McLeods before me, all did the family business, trucking company, and for them a fixed cost would be salaries of drivers, where a variable cost for them could be fuel, because the price of fuel changes all the time. We know that. So that's producers. So let's go and look at consumers, because I think sometimes we have a little difficult or more of a challenging time with this. But we got to ask ourselves, is what are the consumers? Why do we act the way we do, right? Do we just act randomly, or do we have a purpose? No, we have a purpose, and the rational choice theory says that. So it's basically the assumption that consumers enter the marketplace with clear preferences. So what that means is you don't go to the store and just want to walk in. You tend to go in because you like something or because something intrigues you, right? I go to Walmart because I know I can get that thing that I want for a little cheaper, and it makes me happy. I don't usually walk into Walmart and just stand there and think, please sell me. I don't. I come in with an objective, right? And that's rational choice theory. So we always have these preferences, and that's important to remember, is that consumers, us, the people who buy things, we want what we want, and that changes, which leads me to my next thing over here. Over time, our consumer preferences change, which is why you see so many products changing. And the ultimate test is producers have to figure out how to adapt to that change. Because if you're a producer that only sells, give you an economic example, if you're a producer that only sells green pens, but the people, the consumers like me, want red pens, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep selling the green pen here and lose the red customers? Or are you going to adapt and start selling red pens? It's this push and pull theory that you have to understand. And the only way to do that is you have to understand that we buy things daily, but over a year, over a decade, it's probably going to change what we buy each day. So just know that is important. Utility, this is where I think where we've got a little loss at times. Utility is this measure of satisfaction derived from consumption of goods and services. So how happy are you in a percentage term each time you buy this product, right? Am I ecstatic every time I buy this green pen? That's what we're looking at. That's utility. Diminishing marginal utility is the opposite of this. So it's the satisfaction that I get from buying this red pen actually declines every time I buy it. So I'm not as excited every time I buy it for whatever reason. Maybe I don't like red anymore. I really technically like yellow, but they don't really have yellow all the time, so I'm just left with the red pen. I buy it because I need something to write with, but I really want the yellow, whatever it is. The whole point is as I buy this product, my satisfaction over time continues to decline and go down. So that's diminishing marginal utility in that one. Income effect basically says that when your income goes up, your purchasing power goes up. And we know that when you have more power to purchase things, you'll buy more. Simple as that, right? So the opposite, the inverse is true. If you have less money, you'll have less power to purchase things, which means you won't buy as much. So that's the income effect, and that's what consumers were really looking at. Producers then try to talk to us consumers by bundling things, right? Because bundling is just putting things together, so that way I will buy these two things together here, where normally I would have just bought this and not this. So that if they bundle it, they technically make more money because I'm buying two products and they make more money off me. Good job. So an income effect is a problem that the producers are trying to get around. So again, it all goes back to equilibrium, that we're trying to speak the same language. Even though we're polar opposite, we're very different, we're trying to figure out a way to come together and make a market price, this market equilibrium that works together. The marginal rate of substitution is known as MRS, and this is just the rate that consumers are willing to exchange goods back and forth. So at what rate am I willing to buy this versus this? Right? If it's 100%, I'm willing every time to switch from this to this. If it's 10%, whatever it is, I rarely am willing to switch, whatever it is. But the whole point with producers and consumers is, again, we're trying to find this balance because we're two very different entities, and we do this, but we want to come together like a small scale. So producers and consumers is just the real way to say supply and demand, all as it is. Very simple. When you think about it like that, if you read too much into it, it tends to get a little crazy in your mind, but you'll be fine. Roll with it. Any questions, DM me, send me a reminder. We got you covered.